today we're able to give them a lot more than we were able to back in that first initial year. And that's because every year I have takeaways. I'm like, okay, this was a great event, but I can see that it would be great to have a videographer there and to capture a video that we can share with the brands. Or I can see that it would be great to also invite, traditional media and journalists to the event who are local, and they can also share about these brands. So you can kind of think through the different layers of what's missing, what can I add next year. Hello, and welcome to episode 19 of the Master the Media podcast. I'm your host, Amy Gorn, and today we are going to be talking about how to run a sponsored event. Before we dive into that, I just want to let you know that we are having a live Q&A where we will go over all the ins and outs of how Master the Media works for you as a healthcare professional, how you can earn $50,000 in brand partnerships in the next 6 months, and any questions that you have about working with the media or working with brands as a healthcare expert. So that will be Wednesday, November 5th at 7 p.m. Eastern. You can go to masterthemedia.com/QA to grab your spot. Now, I am excited to talk with you guys today about how to run a sponsored event. This is near and dear to my heart right now because we just are off the tails of running Master the Media's big event that we host every year surrounding FNCE, which is the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics Food and Nutrition Conference and Expo. And we host at Master the Media, we host a big event every year where we have anywhere between about 4 and 8 brand sponsors. So this October, we had Organic Valley, the National Pork Board, USA Pulses, and Country Life Vitamins sponsor our event. And in this week's coaching call, when I was talking with our Master the Media students, I got a lot of questions about how can you run a sponsored event as, a healthcare professional. And just so you know, these events can be really small and the lower budget for the brands, or they can be really big and a big production. Like the event that we just ran for Master the Media, I was like, I'm planning a wedding. It's basically, we had over 200 people there. I think we had about 250 people. The food and beverage budget was literally probably what you would have for a wedding. We had live music, we had gift bags, but you can do this on a much smaller scale and a much smaller cost to the brand. So I want to talk through what those options look like. So first off, I want to talk about what it means to have a sponsored event. So, and this is something that, I get a lot of times people are surprised by, because you can literally have almost anything sponsored. And what I mean by that is, say that you're doing a community talk to a local running group, or you're doing a food demo at, a local grocery store, or you're doing a book signing. Any of those things can be sponsored. And let's talk about, why. When you're talking to brands about sponsoring an event, and let me just quickly mention, I'm saying sponsor, but you're probably like, how much money can you get from sponsoring a brand? It can literally be free product, or it could be $500, or it could be $50,000 or more. So I'm going to talk through all of these kinds of scales of things. So I actually just got off of a call with a brand, and they were like, just so you know, our budget to pay experts is low, but we are always happy to give product to health professionals who are hosting events. And what that could look like is, say that you're serving lunch. Maybe the brand that you want to work with serves healthy salads, and you can get free lunch, partner with a smoothie company for the beverages as well. And you're giving those brands kind of free promotion in exchange. The next level would be where, say that you are, talking to that running group or a local moms club, and you're doing it for free, but you want to make some money off of it too. Awesome. So the first thing you want to do is think about, what are you going to offer the brands? What are the tangibles and what are the intangibles? And what I mean by that is, you have the things that are you can guarantee. So say, for instance, you're hosting a talk to the local moms club, and you have a friend or an assistant who's filming you talking to those moms. That's called B-roll. And you could post that to Instagram and tag the brand or do a collaboration with the brand. So you're guaranteeing them that you're sharing the brand and their sponsorship with your followers. Say that you have a newsletter list. Maybe your newsletter goes out to 500 health professionals or 1,000 health professionals, or even maybe it's 100. Then you could share, you could share to your newsletter list, like, hey, everyone, I just did this sponsored event with X brand. And here's me talking to my running group about sports nutrition. If you want to hear a little snippet of my lecture, and here's some more information about the brand. Maybe here's a coupon code that the brand gave you to share. You also could put products into gift bags that you distribute to the attendees. And of course, you can't guarantee that the attendees are going to share those on social media, but what you can do is share them yourself. So you could do a standalone Instagram post, or you could do Instagram stories where you're sharing the gift bags, you're talking about the products and why you like to recommend them. And then you could, what we do at our big events is we print out an info card of all the brands, and we're like, share, tag the brands, get on their radar, and here's their social media information, and here's a bunch of samples. And so you can encourage people to share and give that as an intangible to the brand, where you can't say, I'm going to guarantee we have X number of people sharing and you're going to get X number of views, but you can say, I'm distributing these samples and information about your social handles to people with a total following of 300,000 on Instagram. And I imagine you're going to get some shares on some of those platforms. And you can also track those shares and report them back to the brand so that you have a number that you can share with them. And you can say, okay, you sponsor this event. We put together 100 gift bags with your products, and we had 50 social shares that went out to an audience of 300,000. And you can kind of like give a number on that. For the Master the Media event, what we do is, in addition to social media, we don't give the promise of media shares, but we say that's a possibility, because at this event, we're going to have a lot of, media dietitians, physicians who work with the media who are attending the event. And they, if they like your product, they might mention it in a media interview. And then you can say, like, if you track those results, you can say, okay, this event had media coverage in 20 different media outlets with a total reach of 30 million, or whatever that big number is. And you can put together those statistics. Now, I'm not trying to scare you. You don't have to have all of this at the beginning when you're sponsoring an event. And what I always tell my Master the Media students is start small. You can charge less for something that's called proof of concept. And what that means is you don't necessarily need to, or actually sometimes it's not a good idea to go in full force and say, okay, I'm going to produce this event where I want $50,000 of sponsorship dollars and 300 attendees. That's honestly not realistic if you've never hosted an event like that before. So we've been running our Master the Media event for 4 years now. 2026 will be our 5th year. Year 1 was what I called my proof of concept event, where we had about, 75 or 100 attendees, which sounds like a lot, but now, we had 200 or 250 this year. And we had a few brands sponsor the event. The total amount that we were charging for each sponsor was a lot less than it is today. I want to say it was about $3,000. Nowadays, when brands want to sponsor our event, it ranges anywhere from about $5,000 to over $10,000. And that's because today we're able to give them a lot more than we were able to back in that first initial year. And that's because every year I have takeaways. I'm like, okay, this was a great event, but I can see that it would be great to have a videographer there and to capture a video that we can share with the brands. Or I can see that it would be great to also invite, traditional media and journalists to the event who are local, and they can also share about these brands. So you can kind of think through the different layers of what's missing, what can I add next year, which means that you might have to charge more because your overall cost of hosting the event is more. And then there's the simple fact that, if you're hosting an event, year 1, you're not going to have any statistics to share. You're not going to be able to say, well, we had 200 dietitians attend, 98% of them were American based, 2% of them were international based, 100% of them write for media outlets. We had 36 total pieces of media as a result of this event. Like, you're not going to have any of those numbers to share, which is totally fine. It's totally normal. But that's why it's your proof of concept event, where you can run the event, you can get those statistics, and then you can add them to what's called a one pager, or a kind of a media kit for the event, where you can include those results of the event. And then next year, you can charge a little bit more because you have the ability to say, okay, here are the results that we expect to get for this event. And so you can do that even if your event is smaller. And so this is one of my favorite things to do, is to help my Master the Media students monetize things that they're currently doing for free, because you might as well get paid if you're doing something right. And then that only helps to build your portfolio and show brands what you can do and make other brands want to hire you. So one of our students, Christy, she was doing some talks about running to some local groups, and she wanted to monetize that. So she created a one pager with, okay, here's a couple different package options for sponsoring this event. And I don't remember the specifics, but I'll just give you some kind of made up ones. Like, package A has, we'll put your item in the gift bag and feature it on social media. Package B has, we'll include you in our newsletter blast that goes out to our audience of X number of thousands of people, plus everything that's in package A, et cetera. And so what you can do is you can make money from that thing that you were doing for free. In Christy's case, she had to get permission from the organization that she was speaking to, and this might happen. She had to get their permission to get a paid sponsor, but they gave their okay. And they actually offered to do I think they did a collaboration on Instagram, and they also let her include the sponsors in their newsletter that went out to thousands of people. So that was an even added benefit. Now, a lot of times as health professionals working in the media, we're asked to do things for free. So say that you're asked to present at a conference for free. Now, not all conferences will allow this, but it's worth asking if you're allowed to bring in a brand sponsor. So what that can look like is, say you're talking to a room of, a couple hundred people, you're doing that for free for the conference. Then your brand sponsor is sponsoring that. Say you're talking about probiotics, maybe you'll talk about, okay, here are some different brands of probiotics. By the way, this brand that I'm mentioning now is a sponsor. Here are some samples that I have up front. And then you're getting paid, you're being transparent, you're disclosing the fact that you're getting paid by this brand, but you're also not working for free, because you're technically, the conference isn't paying you to speak, but now the brand is. Something else that's really fun is if you're a book author, whether you're getting paid for a speaking engagement or not, but one thing that as brands will often have different budgets set aside for is buying books kind of as giveaways. And so, whether, let's say that you are getting paid by a brand to speak, you could also say, hey, how about we get 100 copies of my book and I do a live book signing? And so they're buying copies of your book. You're not directly getting that money, but hopefully you're at least getting the royalties, or if you're self-published, you're getting probably like a large chunk of those profits. So there's a lot of different ways to make money from events. And it's become one of my favorite things to do with brands, because you can work with the brand to say, okay, what are your goals? What audience are you trying to reach? Are you trying to reach consumers or health professionals, or both? And you can also do virtual events. We do at Master the Media, we do a lot of sponsored webinars with brands. I actually just got off of a call with a brand who they did a rebrand, their supplement company, and they want to get the word out about their new products and their new messaging to health professionals. And so they're really interested in doing a webinar, because we have the audience and we can help connect them with the right people to learn about their products. So all that to say is, when, whether you have an event that you're looking for sponsors for, or you maybe even want to help support a brand in running their own event, it's a really great deliverable to offer a brand, because it also gets out of the box. If you any person who as a health expert can go to a brand and say, hey, I can do social media for you. Hey, I can write a blog post. But what not everyone thinks of is these outside of the box ideas that sometimes are what actually sparks the interest of a brand. And they might actually create the budget to work with you for hosting the event because it's so specific to their needs of reaching that specific audience of, in this case, health professionals who work with the media. So I hope that was helpful. And as a reminder, if you have any questions about working with the brands or the media as a healthcare professional, we are hosting a live Q&A on November 5th at 7 p.m. Eastern time. If you can attend live, you can catch the replay, but you have to sign up for us to send you the replay. So go to masterthemedia.co/QA to grab your spot.